Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of the Legacy Hangout and Build and Chat. Last stream we finished quite a bit of hardware changes. We changed out the Z steppers, the A and B steppers, and swapped for the Raspberry Pi 3A Plus in instead of the Raspberry Pi Zero. So we're going to continue the hardware changes by swapping out for the ABBN cooling setup, and then get into configuration changes and run input shaper on this and other tuning. So how's everyone doing today? It is a blustery day in Sacramento right now. They actually canceled the Ironman California that was supposed to go on today. So I guess I'm going to get started. We got a couple of viewers. Hi Greg. Thanks for the early like. Okay, so I'm going to start taking this apart. I think last stream I talked about wanting to go over my wiring. I'll show you what I changed and what needed to be changed when I turn the printer around. But I'm just going to start by pulling some parts. Hi Golden Jaguar, how are you? So are things... Oh, my music is not going. Let me see why not. I can hear it. Why is music not going? I'm not sure. Hi, Tony. I haven't changed anything. I'm not going to dwell on this, but I want to look at it for a couple of minutes here. Oh. I was anticipating the battery on my mouse dying, and it just did. So, let me swap that out. There we go. Why is desktop audio not working? That should come through. Is it too loud? Or do you hear it at all? I'll let the delay catch up, but I'm going to get back to this while I wait. Let me know if any changes need to be made. I think it should be coming through. OBS says it's coming through. Legacy has this nice little accent colored cover on the back that hides all the connectors. I got a 4-pin microfit like I do for any other tool head here. Awesome. Thanks, Steve. How are you doing? Great. Actually, pull this up. Tool head. Hey Josh, how are you? You made one of these live. Not ready for that to come off yet. Sanity. Okay, I think that's all the connectors I need to remove. I need to find the stuff to duplicate it on the new setup. There we go. So I used another, I don't know what that connector's called, but I'll have to find my box of those so I can use the same, because I don't want to change any wiring over here. Tool head's gonna have to come apart. There you go. The umbilical, nice and radius. Did I put a... No, it's just wires. And I think I just got lucky. The Bowden tube is attached to it in a few spots, but I think I just got lucky. It might be... I could probably do it slightly shorter, but... Hi, glue stick. Well, hopefully, well, we should. There's only the ABBN mod to go, and then we're going to play with configuration and start a test print. I have a couple of test prints lined up. A simple cube, do a before and after on the input shaper, assuming that the 3A can do input shaping. And then I have a test part to print from that I don't think will take too long. To print from the 3D Sets buggy that I want to print on this. So I'm going to just keep taking this stuff apart. Where did I put clip and zip ties and getting things ready to move over. The I think I've mentioned plans, future stream plans, and things are lining up, I hope. Switchwire kit is supposed to be here early this week, so I'm thinking about doing a midweek unboxing stream to make sure everything's there, and then next weekend will be a full, next Sunday I'll be a full marathon one-day build. Old school Kyosho. That's a RC10 or it's a B64. It's a few years old now. It's never been ran. I like to build things. I have less successful track record in actually doing something with them. Okay, so just a regular Dragon normal flow on here. I think most of these, and the ABBN tool head. So I'm gonna prep this by just making sure the mating surfaces are flat. Break out the heat set inserts. Yeah, I have a rock crawler back here. It's a Axial SCX 10-2. It's really fun. I actually have more fun with that than the race cars. It's just nice to go on camping and play around with them. Okay, let me move some of this stuff out of the way and get some heat sets. Installed. Not really. Yeah. You guys have seen me do this. I gotta change my angles. Are those the only ones we have? I don't think there's anything on this. Yeah, that should be it for heat sets today. Let's see. Butterfingers. Just assemble all of this loose. And then tighten everything up after. Yeah, I remember as a kid building static plastic models, usually muscle cars and stuff like that. So, I have a few in a box, but I don't know that I'll ever get to them. It's kind of tedious. Okay, and then a couple of small zip ties. I have the small ones here. No, let me grab them. Probably need a few more, so we'll keep them out. I think I was started to mention my camera setup here. I was thinking about it. I think the next thing I want to try to do is put a camera here behind my monitor. So one thing that kind of bugs me about my setup right now is I'm talking not to you guys, and it's not comfortable to look at the camera in this way. So I want to put a camera right here, and then maybe put it in the corner of the screen. So I'm at least talking at a camera and people can see that instead of what I'm doing right now. Hi, Sven. We'll see how that goes. I think something pretty simple because it's going to be a small. I don't need it to be full screen. I just want to have something to talk at. So, my wife enjoys doing photography, and her old Canon Rebel digital SLR failed not too long ago. So we're looking at getting a new camera for her, and I'm going to be researching what would also work for me here. So I think I might be able to do a pretty significant camera upgrade without having it be dedicated to streaming. Okay, tool head's done, and that should all line up because there's no major dimension changes here. Might have to shift the zip ties, but the next big thing is the wiring for the fans. Oh crap. Okay, I'm gonna have to go grab a tool because I forgot to cut the ears off of the 5015 fan. So I completely forgot about that. Let's see, what am I going to do with this? There is a tool that Bad Noob made, and I've never printed or done anything with that, so we get to just, I think we just do the good old hacksaw. So give me about less than a minute, and I'll go grab my hacksaw, and I'm just going to do it right here. Be right back. Tools. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Let's move that down. Yeah, flush cutters, I'm sure, will be fine. I don't want to crack the plastic though, so I'll just make a mess here. I can always vacuum it up later. And I want to actually be able to see what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna quite literally just make a mess. I know I only have to cut one side of these off. That'll be fine. And then hold these wires out of the way. And I think that'll do it. Trying to make sure not every little bit of this comes off on the carpet. Okay. So, ears cut off. I'm gonna take the housing off and then clean it up with the file. So, grab a little tool to pop that off. Just a little screwdriver. smooth. Hold the wires out of the way. When I did my Trident build, I did this off camera, so it turned out pretty good. Hopefully that's focusing. I can't see with these glasses. What do we have? Oh, who's Charlie in the background? He'll be around. Yeah, Greg, I was looking at the tool and honestly I have no idea how it works either. But I never bothered printing it out to try it because that, I mean, you saw that took 2 minutes. Okay, and this part gets thrown away. Oh, and I remember... Or is that good right there? I thought there was these clips getting in the way. The little tabs here. I'm gonna cut those off too. Flush cutters and just snip those. Actually, I think my other ones here are more flush. Maybe the file. There we go. Glue stick. That's going to be really dependent on what fan you have. You really probably don't want to throttle it because it's so important in controlling heat creep on your hot end. What fan are you using? I mean, yes, all the stuff around it, in front of it, behind it is going to have an effect on how much noise it makes, but Jeff, you say spring first, okay. So Josh, this build has been done for over a year now. This is serial number 1 for these, just after RCF serial 0. So let's see how this goes. There we go. So the spring in there. Finagle this into there. I don't feel like that's... According to that, it's correct. Okay, I think it's in there. Okay. Let's see how long we need these wires to be. And I am going to put a dab of super glue here to make sure those wires don't keep coming out of that tab. Do that and some activator. Just the tiniest little drop. Hot glue would work as well. I just don't have a hot glue gun handy and don't want to wait for it to heat up. And do I have paper towels anywhere? I'll go find a paper towel. I think as far as the Voron collection goes, I'm the second person to have all 5 printers. The Trident, or when I built it, the V1 at the time, was the last one that I had built. P. Nokel on the Discord would have been the first person to have them all. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go for some wire lengths. I'm not going to take this apart and use these fans. I have others. So, just kind of get an idea for how long I need these wires to be. Sanity for servicing the bearings. Let me see if I have anything around here. What I've done is, oh, I have one. Hold on. I printed out one of these, and it's a tip to go on the super lube, but this goes on here, and they make it for different sizes. So this is for the LM8 UU or whatever. And you take the bearing off of the, and this is for a shorter one, this uses longer, but you take the bearing off the rod and then push the grease through, and the old stuff should come out. You can soak these, clean them, that kind of thing, but for the most part, just refreshing the grease in there is probably enough. That little tip, if you search for LM8 or whatever, on Thingiverse, and maybe grease fitting or lube fitting, you'll find it. I've searched Prusa printers too if you're avoiding Thingiverse, which isn't a bad idea. I'm just going to go right there. Hope that was the right length. I've got a... So you have a GDS time fan there, Glue Stick. I've just been using these, which aren't... They're probably not great, but I can get them on Amazon. These little Winsen 24 volt 4010 fans. So this... There's a fan channel right here, or wire channel, and trying to get that bent in spot so it doesn't pinch. Just like that. And then it can finish going along this path. And I'm hoping it'll come out in the right spot so I can take it through this Bowden setup. Glue Stick, this is Bad Noob's ABBN setup. Since I'm going to be exclusively printing PLA with this, I just wanted the maximum cooling I can get with the parts that I like. Just as an FYI, let's see, the Voron users printer mods GitHub, if you go to Bad Noob's page here, he has assembly instructions, and parts list and printed files and all that. So yeah, a pretty decent set of instructions here. So where does this come out? So this has a cover that goes on the back. And then I just want to match where things are coming out so wire lengths are all correct. Okay. Let me find these connectors that I used. I've got this labeled hot end and part. Okay. Sanity, that I am, but I can't say anything about it. You've seen the teaser pictures, it's really cool. I don't know when it's going to be released though. I'm going to dig in my little drawer of connectors here and look for that. Oh, here it is. This little kit here. I had bought it for some reason or another, and I think I ran out of microfits, so I used these. I don't know what these are called. It says it's JST-SM, so I guess that's what they're called. JST-SM. And the terminal side. See ya, Josh. Grab 4 of the each side of the terminals. Oh, I only need to do one side. Oh, that's dumb. That's okay. Which side do I gotta do? I think these are the... Okay, so let's throw these back. I'll use those later. That one. And that can go back there. Okay. These are pretty easy to tell apart because they're very different diameter wire. So I'm going to go ahead and button this up so these wires get, I can cut them to exactly where I want them lengthwise. So just straighten out the path through here. Make sure everything looks nice and tidy. Going through the little visible spot there, make sure it's not twisted so it doesn't look funky. I put the, if you weren't watching my Trident build stream, I put one of these on that as well. I think that just kind of pushes up into there. I think that's about right. Everything moves, the fans spin just fine. Let's see, anything in chat? Yeah, it'll be fine for the fans. Part cooling fan turbine should be on center, that round, or can be slightly off center. Are you talking about this one? It is slightly off center, but I'm not sure. Yeah, squirrel brain. I have this angle for when I need to show something on the printer, so we'll hit some of those today. I don't know how. I guess this works out pretty well. I don't know if it's better doing that or holding it up to the camera here. If you ever, absolutely speak up if you want to see anything closer up. I try to catch stuff what people might be interested in, but if I miss something, speak up. I'm paying attention. Okay. These are slightly off, so let's trim these to the same length. Well, the ducting absolutely is asymmetrical, and there is a lot of CFD work done on this that Bad Noob has done. So this is supposed to be a lot better than the airflow out of the old one. Okay. I think I'm going to throw a couple of small pieces of heat shrink on this just to keep these wires controlled. So let me grab that. Just so they're not bunching up inside here. Let's see what I have. I just have scraps and fresh and scrap bits of heat shrink tubing in here that I draw from, and I'm just going to use a couple little kind of not full coverage, just little short pieces to just keep it a little controlled. I got to do all this before we put the terminals on, of course. So just something like that. And I'm going to mute for a second so you don't hear the heat gun in the background. I'll be right back. Okay, something like that. And then let's see where this is going to. I think we can go down through this hole. Maybe not. Huh. That's a problem. Get this guy in here and show you what's going on. The exit from the, hopefully that's focusing well enough. The exit of those wires is not going to let me clamp this on. Figure out what I want to do to fix that. I was not anticipating that problem. I could cut this, I could cut a notch here, and that's probably the quickest solution. So let's just do it. You're not going to be able to see it, so if you're sensitive, avert your eyes. This hurts me. Side cutters here to just make a little notch. Take my X-Acto knife and get a better view of what I'm doing here. Maybe give you guys a better view for those that... Whoa! There we go. Try to clean this up a little bit. Give myself a little bit of room. Use those edges. Okay. Are you guys able to see what I did there? Yeah, well enough. And then we got all that ABS stress marks, so I'm gonna bring my heat gun over here. Let's see if we can fix that. So, grab some power. Let's see, is that gonna, what is it focusing on? See if I can get that to, and I'm gonna mute for a second, but it should be cool to see, I think. Eased it, made it a little darker. Okay. Some shavings here to get rid of. Let's see if I fix the problem. Yeah, that'll sneak in there now. I couldn't go any higher, so it has to go down and then over. So I think that'll work. Okay, how are we doing? Still have... Yep, we still have music. Good. Okay, now just stripping and crimping, making sure I got the wires in the right order, but I'll use my old one as the model for that. Looking at the order or the orientation that these terminals like to be crimped at. So that way, okay. So now the hot end fan, let's go right here. Sorry, I'm just making sure I don't screw this up. Go just like that. Little tug, make sure it's secure. For anybody on that's new to my streams, are you building or built a Legacy or Trident? Those are what I've covered so far. Okay. Now, what do we got? Should go right like that. Using a little screwdriver to push the pins in to seat them. That should be good. .180 cubic millimeter Trident. So the questions I would have, so 180 is not too bad in X and Y. Might have to tweak a few things. The smallest skirts I've made for a V2 or a Trident or for a 200 millimeter build. I haven't looked to see how much material is left over for a to squeeze them down to 180. The lead screws, I guess you can just cut them down, or maybe almost the V0.1 Z lead screw would work, but you'd only get like 150 out of Z using those. Greg, so tune in next week for my switchwire build. I'm gonna do it. I mean, I'm talking now, but I don't think it's gonna take that long. The switchwire is a nice, easy build, so I'm hoping I can do that quicker than I did the V0.1 kit build, which was about 8 hours, but not full panels. So we'll see what I can do, what it'll take to do the switchwire. I'm hoping it gets here in time. It is in LA right now, but I don't know if it might get caught up in any of the port issues or not. Okay, let's see what is going on with getting this. I've got a wire here. It's the inductive probe wire that's kind of in the way, so maybe some tweezers to kind of help guide it. There's plenty of room, it's just the connector. There we go. Yeah, the biggest suggestion I would say for an off-spec size build is triple, quadruple check your measurements for your frame. You don't want to build something and have things, at worst case, too short, at least too long for most things you can cut. Am I okay with just putting this on now? I think so. That's there. I think we... There we go. I really like my V0s. My original V0, I guess 0.0, Bowden setup is my go-to when I want to throw out a real quick part, little small test part. I've got a spacer here to put in. That just goes back, and I might have to cut a notch in that too. Let's see. Maybe not. Kind of force those wires to, yeah, I think that's fine. Sorry, and still move. Okay, we're almost done. Time-wise. Yeah, that turned out well. Let's see if we get a little pan around shot, front side anyway, and that worked out really well. Just a little notch right there, hardly able to see it. Okay, so now the back, we just plug things in. So I think first I want to plug in my fan wires, and tuck those into this little cavity. And then the hot end wire goes down there and like that, and I think it's a little messy, but it all gets covered up. I don't know what it's focusing on. So the black filament, so the filament here, these are both KVP. Black is the Stellar Black, and the red is the Stellar Red. So I'm trying to figure out, so for the switch wire build, I've decided, I think, on black and stellar blue on a red frame. I could have my mind changed on the stellar blue, but I think it'll look good. The question is, do I do stellar black or do I do, this is atomic carbon fiber ABS, and it gives a really cool, let me see if I have any pieces here. This is an old part, but just the shimmer and the look to it is really nice. So, as opposed to, let's see, I don't think I have any, oh, I guess that's the closest thing I have for trying to show a shimmer or the sparkle in the stellar black. Jeff, this is just the wires. And the sleeving. I mean, this is a split sleeving. I don't know if you can tell. So I don't know if that helps. And when I put it on, I don't feel it now. But when I put it on, I thought I had put a twist into it. But it just kind of laid there. The Bowden tube is zip tied to the outside of it. Maybe I just got lucky. Okay. Let's go over what I had to fix real quick from the last stream. So this won't take long. Let's just take the back panel off. And then we're going to power it up, go through the configuration changes that are needed for the changes that I made, and go through checks to make sure things are working. Then we will do a test print while I make another little harness for the input shaper. Okay. Let's do... Let's do this. Try to get a better angle on this. There we go. Bit of a tangle of wires there. It's not as clean as when I originally built it. But the problems I had were when I powered it up to test. The bed thermistor was reading negative something degrees, and I had accidentally plugged it into the thermistor 1. So there's, in the order, this is at E3 turbo. In the order of the connectors, it's thermistor bed, then TH0, which would be the hot end, and then TH1. So I just had it plugged into the wrong one. And then the only other problem I had is I had the part cooling and hot end fans swapped. So I swapped those, and everything else seems to be okay. So where are we at? Everything else is plugged in. I have powered it on, like I said, fixed those couple of issues, but I haven't changed any of the configuration things. So let me button this back up, and we will go to that. There was at least a Euro person reselling the KVP filament, but I don't know of anybody who is carrying it now, or if that other person is still importing it. Yes, I was good to hear that too, Jeff. Or good to see that. I wasn't positive that it would just boot up, but it did. And also the I had tried input shaping on the Pi Zero, so all the installs that take forever to do should already be done. So, plug this thing in and hope everything works. Give it a second. The display should come on shortly. Probably go through the full, it's been a while since I've used this printer, so probably go through the full update all the things, which is a little more involved here because I used one of the mini 12864 clipper boards for the display, which will need to be updated. Okay, so we're up and running. Let's switch over. Try again on the connection. Yeah, you got some time here, Kevin. Though we're gonna do a hopefully do a test print, and while that's going, I'm gonna make a harness so I can use the input shaper cable that I made during my. Here, I'll switch over. So I made this cable during my Trident stream, and it's got a 6-pin microfit on it that plugs into a little port I put on in the grill on the other printer. For this one, I'm just going to make a pigtail that'll stick it out the wiring hole in the back and plug this in. So you got some time. Okay, so we are here. It powered up without any errors, and that's what it did, aside from the temperature error when I turned it on the first time. So we are going to start, and I'm just going to be ready on the reset button. We're just going to start with a homing each axis. I think you can probably see it. I mean, it's just homing. You can see it in a little inset screen, I think. Now this is sensorless homing. I did try a home when I powered this on at first, and it wouldn't home. The sensorless values were too sensitive. I reduced those down to confirm that was the problem, and those are set in your printer config. And for each in the TMC settings, so here's for stepper X, the driver SGTHRS. This value here is a value for this particular setup between 0 and 255. The higher number, the more sensitive it is. If it's too sensitive, you will either trigger early or trigger immediately. When I first started this back up and homed it, it triggered immediately with this same value that you see here. So I reduced that just to make sure things would home fine, and then I changed them back for the stream. But now it's homing. So maybe there was some stiction in the bearings that it's had a chance to move now. So some of that lubricant that's still in those bearings has been redeposited and is working better. But this little value right here for this particular setup is how you change the sensitivity. Now there is a great write-up, and I'm going to switch over to another tab on the Clipper documentation. If you go to clipper3d.org and go to documentation, it's not the most obvious thing if you're looking for sensorless homing. you have to know that you got to go down to the TMC drivers section here. And there is a write-up in here on which particular configuration you should use for what drivers. So I'm using 2209s in this, which means I go to that S whatever that value you saw. But this is all, this describes the how to configure it, how to tune it, and recommended macros for sensorless homing. So there are some macros here, and I'll just show you mine, that Kevin recommends, Kevin from Clipper. And I'm going to scroll down here and find them. So Sensorless Home X, he recommends that you do a, where is it? After it homes, it moves off 40 millimeters. And where was that? Yeah, here it is. It's max travel minus 40 millimeters. Because if it's preloaded at the end stop where it triggered, it can cause a shift in the next axis it homes. So pulling that back away from your trigger point relieves that that pretension or whatever in the belts. So you didn't see that when I homed this before, because I chose the, here, let's go back. I chose just homing X and Y directly, but there is a macro for that. And if let's just go down here. I'm just going to disable the steppers and move this out. If I just do a home all now, you'll see that this should come off. Once it does that, it comes off 40 millimeters. Oh, and then we're going to crash here. Oh, shoot. Actually, the inductive probe would have been fine. I'm used to it not hitting a end stop. But what you just saw there is my sensitivity values are too high. So we are going to adjust those because it triggered and then it was going back to the safe Z home point, which is the middle of the bed. Did all that make sense? I feel like I kind of rambled, but okay, so we are going to switch back over here and we're going to adjust that that homing setting. And that is down here, Stepper X TMC settings. And we are going to make this less sensitive. And this is kind of arbitrary. What I'm going to do is bring it back because I don't want to spend a ton of time tuning this. I really recommend going through the Clipper documentation. I think the worst that'll happen is we'll skip steps at home if it's not sensitive enough. And if we're at the extreme. Otherwise, it just ends up being a slightly louder home. So I'm going to switch this to like 145 or 145. I'm just going to reduce it by a bit. And maybe the same thing here, 155, and save and restart this. And let this come back up and do a home. And it's not hitting hard at all. It's not skipping any steps. I'm just going to leave it. If we find a point where it doesn't, if we get a false trigger, then I'll tweak those values again. But for right now, keep the stream moving. I'm not going to go into a super fine tune on that, on those settings. When I did it the first time, I was homing dozens of times just to see where it was going to what sensitivity value. I could get it to home every time without false triggering. Let's do the updates. So let's update everything. So I am on version, if you look here in the bottom corner, I'm on an older version of Mainsail, 1.6.0, and an older version of Clipper. We're at .v010, 0.10 I think now, something. And then Moonraker is going to be out of date as well. So let's go to, I think it's settings in here, and then the update manager. I'm going to refresh this just to see what the latest is. So did I miss anything in chat? Hello, Vlog away. Hi, Jaeger. How you doing? Welcome back. Okay, so that finished refreshing. That takes a long time, and I'm not sure why. And okay, so before I do that, I want to point you to another documentation site. The Mainsail documentation is here at docs.mainsail.xyz. If I didn't immediately know where that was, I usually go and search for Mainsail GitHub. And this will take you to MeetU's Mainsail page. And down here, he has a documentation link. And it takes you right there. So let's close these windows and go back to the Mainsail doc. And he has an update guide here. And it tells you a couple of different ways that you can update your different components. And one of them being the update manager, which is what we're going to do. And he goes you through some instructions for a manual update as well, if you have some reason that you need to. What I'm going here for is if you go to the update manager, it's going to show you how to enable the feature, which it's enabled. But it also has a little statement here that I always get confused up until he mentioned this. It says typically the update order is top to bottom. So I always question which one should I update first to minimize problems. So we're going to go by this, and we're just going to go top to bottom. And we'll fix it if it doesn't work. So we're going to update Clipper. It's going to come up and do its thing. While it's doing that, I'm going to see if there's anything new in chat. I'm doing well, Jaeger. This is we got a stormy day here in Northern California today. It actually canceled the California Ironman. I think it was the first annual, or the first one, the inaugural Ironman, and they actually canceled it due to the weather. So I'm hoping I can keep power and all that, but the winds have calmed down since this morning. What are you printing for the Ender 3? Oh, the Afterburner. I got it. Yeah. Well, the problem is that we're expected to have like 5 inches of rain today. Is what the National Weather Service said, like 4.86 inches. And with all these fires that have come through and destroyed that erosion control, hopefully we don't get some mudslide problems and stuff. Okay, that is doing its thing. Yeah, there's a couple of areas they've actually preemptively evacuated with the expectation of issues like that in a county near here. Oh, update finished. Updating clipper done. So we're going to close that and move on to the next one. When we're done with this, we're going to have to update the firmware on all the devices connected. So let's update Moonraker. Yeah, we're in a pretty severe drought here in California right now. So this one little storm here isn't going to put a dent in it, but it's going to help. Our main water reservoir, a little north of here, Lake Oroville, is really low right now. I'm just catching up on chat, Golden Jaguar. What steppers are you using there, and what drivers? Because that really depends on what that's going to be the big considerations on what your values are going to be. Yeah, Jeff, interesting story there. I work for the California Department of Water Resources. I was on site at the Oroville Spillway emergency from like day 2 through all of the emergency response, and I'm the manager over technology support for the project through to now, basically. I mean, everything has been completed, but we still have an office up there that we support. That was crazy. I was involved in the evacuation. I had a close-up look at a lot of it. I got to walk down in the what was left of the spillway down in the erosion area. I was standing on the end of the spillway gate structure when the hillside was being eroded by the overflow from the lake. So I was evacuated because I was there on site supporting it. I was in a hotel up there, and I had been working graveyard, and I was woken up at I think it was about 4 o'clock that day, and said, hey, they're evacuating the town, you got to get out of there. So we headed up to this little building up on the hill to help monitor the what was going on, the lake levels and the erosion of that hillside. So I was technology support, so a lot of the details regarding what was going on and why and all that kind of stuff, I have a pretty 30,000 foot level understanding of it. Where my house is right now, about 70-ish miles away, let's say if the dam left, and the dam wasn't in danger in this, but if the lake was emptied, I would see water here at my house. The inundation zone is at my house, about 70 miles away. Okay, let's reconnect. Moonraker update is done. And now mainsail. Interesting 3D printing tie-in to that was one of the first projects that we had a large mapping drone and photography presence is during that emergency. And we have a group within the area that I support that the photogrammetry group, and we were able to make a model of the whole hillside and the damaged spillway, a 3D model of that, and I was able to print that. I don't have an example here. I wish I did. Maybe one of my later streams I'll bring one on, but we made in multiple pieces, a 28 by 14 diorama of it. We did it in, I think, 6 pieces. It was on a CR10 400 at the time, but it was a really neat project to do. Okay, mainsail is done, and we got the new interface 2.0.1. And I'm not going to do all the system updates. But it appears, at least the firmware version on the controllers is compatible, but we're going to go through and update them anyway. Bring up a terminal window. And let me connect. Okay, I'll bring this over here, and I enlarged this last time. I hope everybody can see it. We're going to go through the normal steps for updating firmware on... Oops. Let's just clean that up. And start up the controller setup. What do we have here? This is for the little display board, is what I did last time. So there is no reason not to just do that first this time. So we'll just save these, leave these settings. I don't think there's any reason not to. We're going to do it anyway. So we're going to save that. And then for doing this, I always refer to, we're going to go to a different page here. We're going to go to the Voron GitHub and hardware, and there is the STM32 Mini 12864 board, and there is a guide here on the firmware setup for this. So when we flash it, though, we go through a little process here with a boot jumper. So let me find a little jumper. Jumper. I'm going to rotate this a little bit so I can see the back of it better. Start by putting the board into DFU mode, jump the boot 0, and then perform a reset. So I'm basically going to do this by jumping here, let me get a camera angle for you. So this is a little cover that I designed and printed for this. Seems to work pretty well. But I'm just going to jump the boot pins here, and I'm just going to restart it by cycling power on it. Let that start back up, and it should be in DFU mode. And then we can remove that jumper now. So now we go back to here, and we're going to run these make and make clean commands. Oops. Make clean. I already did make clean, so I'm just going to run make. Let that run. Okay. And then we're going to run this command. Make flash device, copy it. Now, I don't know if any of you were around for a few streams ago, but I had all kinds of trouble right-clicking to paste into a command window. Turns out, if you go to properties here, this quick edit mode is what enables that. So I can right-click to paste, and it works. Okay, so there we go. That was quick. So the display is updated now. Nothing left to do there. Now we are going to make menu config. Oops. To set up the E3 or the E3 turbo board, which is a similar to the same processor as the SKR 1.4 turbo. And it is the 1769, and I am communicating via serial on, I believe, that one, and I think that is it. I don't think we need to set up any of the other stuff, so that has been set. We're going to do a make clean. And we're going to go back to the Clipper documentation. And there is, I'm just going to go back. Down here, there's the SD card updates. And this tells you how to set all of this up. I don't think I need to do any... let's find out. We should be able to get a list of the boards. So this is the list of the boards that are supported. So we are looking for the SKR E3 Turbo. So we're going to remember that. Go back here and we're going to make it now. So make. Thanks, Jaeger. I'll remember that. The right click is just what my muscle memory was trying to do, and it was confusing me in that stream. Why wasn't it working? Because it worked on my desktop, and I have no idea. Maybe installing something else enabled it. I don't know, but I was glad to find that option. Okay. So that has compiled the firmware. So now let's go back and we're going to run this script. Let's make sure, let's confirm what, we go here to the printer config. Our MCU is TTY AMA 0. Go back, oops. Bouncing around here. We're going to do this part of it. Oh, oops. I always forget this, and honestly, I've had this work without having to stop and start the service, but the proper way to do it is just to do that. Oh, I accidentally double right clicked. So AMA 0, and then I think we should probably still be able to find that in the buffer here. And is that all we need? That should be all we need. Let's see if it works. Yep, we're looking good. And complete. So now we can go back and start service. I think we are good. Awesome. Now let's go back to this. We're not done in printer config, but I'm going to close it for now because there's a few more things we want to do. I probably should have done before that. But the neater things, one thing I noticed, I don't know what version they added, but in the machine screen of Mainsail is you can actually see the different devices and what firmware version they're on. So instead of having to look at your Clipper log or whatever to find that, I don't know if there's another way to do it before, but having it here now is really nice. Okay. Before I forget, there's a few other things we want to do. I made a change to the Z steppers on this. I had T8x8 lead screws, which the T8 is 8mm diameter. The by 8 is a 8. Go back here. Is 8mm lead, which means it moves whatever device 8mm per full rotation of the lead screws. So 8x8s before. These are the LDO steppers. These are 8x4s. So we are going to go to our configuration here, and under stepper Z, our rotation distance is all we have to change. And this is such the beauty of the rotation distance setup. Is before you would have to do a calculation, find a calculator or whatever, double, half, have to remember which direction you need to go to find your millimeters per step or steps per millimeter, depending on what firmware you're doing. Here, we just changed this rotation distance from 8mm in one rotation to 4. And also, wouldn't normally be that, but I did have 0.9 degree steppers on here, so we're going to change that to the 200 steps per rotation of a 1.8. And then the other Z lead screw needs the same changes. So 4 rotation distance and 200, ooh, that would be fun, 200 steps per rotation. Let me see what I have for my current. Run current. That should be fine. What else did I change that would require a firmware change? All of them are still 0.9 degree steppers on the A and B, so that doesn't change. And I didn't change the pulleys. So I think we're good. If not, we'll find out. So let's save and restart. Invalid config option enabled in section authorization. So that's right, I've seen this before. So we're gonna go, this is part of the update. So let's go to the Moonraker config, and I think we just get rid of the authorization. Or this. I think we just get rid of that, but I'm just gonna comment it out for now. If anybody, I'm pretty sure that was the fix there without going and looking up the documentation. There might be a note in one of these pages. No more error. Home all. Okay, and we can run a Z-tilt. Oh, that's what I forgot. Do you guys hear that? We'll fix that here in a second. That whining from the lead screws. I didn't grease them. Why is that taking so So many iterations. Should get it on this one, I hope. No, it's cutting it by about half each time. Yeah. There we go. Oh, where did I put my stuff? Figure out where I put the super lube. I just had it. I think I showed it to you guys. You guys remember where I put it? Yeah, that squeal is annoying. We'll get rid of that right now. Where did I put that? I just had it. I hung it up somewhere and it fell. Okay. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here and then run it through the travel. Okay, where'd my... Mute my other computer. I don't know if those were coming through, but notifications. Okay. So let's just... What is my... I think I get nearly a full 250Z out of this, but with the couplers before, I think my... setup is limited though, so let's go G0Z 230 or 220. And that there we go. How much do we have left? Let's find out. Ah. Let's see what about we would get. So we're at 220 right now. We'd probably get safely 245 on this particular setup. And that's not accounting for whatever the Z offset is set. So now G0, Z 10. That's fine. That should get rid of that squeal. Let's see. That is good. Let's do a... Move it down a little bit and I'm going to clean the bed. And I guess we'll find out if the... Let's preheat the... Yep, fan turned on. we're gonna do a check my Z offset, set that, and then start a quick, just a little cube print, a hollow cube. I set my speeds up a little higher than I have my profile set for this, to try to get some ringing going. And then we'll do the input shaper stuff and then print it again. And then we'll probably end the stream with hopefully printing sample one of the parts for the 3D sets buggy. So the Legacy really was just another thing I wanted to build. It was RCF said, "Hey, I'm gonna do this throwback reimagining of an older Voron design and release it as kind of a Christmas present to the community last year." And I'm all in whenever there's something new to build. As far as what I mostly use it for, I haven't mostly used it, but my plan is to use it as a go-to PLA printer. So the project I want to do right now is printing the 3D sets buggy. So I think I showed anybody who's new, who wasn't here last week anyway, these are some of my test prints we did early on the printer. It's not perfect, but this is a model that really does hide the imperfections. It looks really good. And that's with that long Bowden. And then I printed, I think both of these are Chaos Cortec models. I know this one is. I think this one is. But for white filament and couplers on those lead screws that I had before, this turned out really good. So this Benchy was printed on there. This is, I'm thinking this is the color I want to do the buggy in, just because I like these kind of lime metallic greens. Okay, we are up to temperature. Let's rehome. Paper. Just make sure we're nice and flat. Okay, and then home again just to get it in the center. So we're going to switch over here, and I'm just going to double check. So one of my things here is, how do you get this information? You don't have to remember it, you just have to remember how to find it. So we're going to calibrate Z, the probe. So what is the command? It's calibrating probe Z offset. There we go. Probe calibrate. Okay. So then we are going to do a test Z equals, it looks like we can go easily -5. paper up in here. And do this again to -2. And then we're going to go 0.5. Once more. Oh, too much. Now there are commands here. You can repeat the last command by doing test Z, plus, minus, plus, plus, minus, minus. Those do different things. The documentation shows that. But I just do this. And that is a little bit of friction. So I think we're good right there. So then we accept it. And I wonder what it was before. So probe Z offsets 2.8. Let's look here. All the way at the bottom of your config, it's going to save these types of variables. 2.88. That's really close to what I had before, so that's good. That's comforting. And this might be loose enough. I might be micro-stepping it up to down to, or baby stepping it down to that anyway. So let's just go ahead and save config. And I have some Jesse Black PLA that we're going to do this testing on. I'm hoping that I'm picking black, hoping that it shows up well, shows any ringing well. It could be that the reflections kind of make it hard to see. I don't know. This is what we're going to try. Okay, do I have? I do not. So I don't have any macros set up right now to load filament on this printer. I need to do that. Oops, I wanted that view. There's a nice M4 extruder. I'm going to set this here. Feed the filament through here. Open up the drawer and find that spot. There we go. Because it is a Bowden setup, this long Bowden tube is a 1.9 millimeter inner diameter, so there's a little extra friction here. I think that will do it. Jaeger, I did. I'm pretty sure the camera I was using has a bad connection, has a bad wire. I was able to duplicate the problem on my other computer finally. So I bought this C922X or whatever, and it's been rock solid. It hasn't locked up at all. So okay, we are going to preheat. We're going to heat up the hot end enough to purge. Then you were probably around, but I tried using a iPhone as another camera, and the connection wasn't reliable. So I'm hoping to find a nice camera for my wife that I can use as when she's not using it as a streaming camera. What is the MCU supposed to look like for the Raspberry Pi in the printer config? I'll show you that. I kind of forgot that particular part, but we're not there yet. We'll go through. Although when this was a Pi Zero, I went through and set everything up, and it would air out when trying to run the input shaper. Just not enough processing power, everything's set up. So we won't have to wait for all that, but I am going to go through and do the configuration, and I'm going to reflash the MCU part of the firmware. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know if it's changed at all, but we're going to do that since we did the others. But we'll do that after we do this. So the next stage is I want to start this test print, and while that's going, I'm going to make a little pigtail harness for the input shaping cable, and then we'll run input shaper, and then we'll run this print again. And this test print should be like a 20-25 minute print. Daniel, I use both. So far, it just so happens that every printer I've shown on stream is mainsail. But I have a fairly even distribution of fluid and mainsail across my printers to date. I hope that fluid continues development and continues to add features and fix bugs and that kind of thing. They say they're going to, so I really hope they do. I think it's a good thing to have both of them out there. I think they each have their pluses and minuses. I honestly couldn't tell you in its current state which I like better. There are things that one of them does better than the other, in my opinion. If I could mash them together and take the best of both, that's I think that's what we'd like to do with a lot of things. But yeah, so it just so happens I've been showing mainsail on here because that's what has been on the printers that I've been featuring. But I don't know what's next. Maybe I'll put fluid on the switch wire that I'm going to build on hopefully next weekend. Okay, so this is at 210 degrees. I'm just going to use the wheel on the M4 to force extrude some filament, and it is coming out just fine. And I'm just going to pull back a little bit to relieve that pressure and change this back to just a heat soak temperature of 160 is what I usually use for PLA. I don't remember what I have in my start code for this, but I think everything, it's homed. I need to Z-tilt and then I'll start a print. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Let's go here. We're going to go to our G-code files, and I have this, just this little cube that I use. It'll be 2 perimeters, 1 bottom, 0 top, no infill. And pressure advance, I don't even know what I have set right now. We're doing input shaper, we need to do input shaper, and then we'll have to do pressure advance again. But we're going to go ahead and set this up. I think we'll go here. It's going to home. I like getting the ooze. Sneak in there and get the ooze. Okay. Oh yeah, so this is, I do run a mesh on this. I don't run a mesh on all my printers. Actually, I don't run a mesh on just the Tridents right now, because I haven't needed to. But since this is just 2 lead screws and there's no compensation fore and aft, aside from the adjustment screws here at the corners of the bed, a mesh is a good idea on these. And this is an ender bed, so mesh is probably a good idea anyway. Is input shaper necessary? It's just going to allow it to run faster with less ringing. I mean, we're going to see. I mean, that's kind of hopefully this print will show some ringing, and we'll run input shaper and then do the same print again, same G code, and see what results we get. And then I want to watch this and be ready to tune my Z offset. Sneak. I probably need to do a new PID tune on this because the and I am way high. Not way, but quite a bit higher than I would have expected. I don't have a wonderful way to get a better view for you guys on this. Let's at least do that. Did input shape around with V1 and Ender 3 and it made a nice difference. I haven't done it on the Trident yet. Hey, do we still have... We don't have music going. Why does this stop? I don't know why it stops. I put it on shuffle. Are we back to some sort of music? Sorry about that. Okay, so... my old eyes and try to see how we're doing on... a little more so I can actually see it. Yeah, input shaper has made a huge difference in all my printers that I've run it on. I think it's actually looking really good right now. Okay, while that's doing that, let's make a harness. So I have, oh, there it goes. I have this microfit end and then the ADXL board. But all I need is a DuPont 2x4 on one side and then the other side of this. And I'm going to end up making this thing way too long because I didn't measure how long I was going to need. But that's okay. I think I've mentioned before, I really don't like crimping DuPonts. Okay, got those, get my microfit bins. Oh, need the next one. That guy. And I need some wires and some labels. Hi Andy, I've been watching your Trident videos and happened to catch your live stream for your Legacy. Awesome, thank you for being here. PTFE wire box. Just gonna grab a new spool and just make it. What did I do for this? I have just enough colors to make this happen. Green. And I faked it with the white. Do you have the weird diagonal overlapping wings or the straight ones? What am I missing? I feel like I missed a... I'm not... What are you... Beartastic, what are you saying there? Can you recap? Because I'm not seeing... Oh, I get it. I'm sorry. Yes, these are the annoying little... You can see they're offset. I don't know how well you can see. Yeah. I get it. Sorry. It is because unless they're perfectly centered in my crimpers, and it's probably a crimper thing, but unless they're perfectly centered there, they can go way off. Okay, I am going to guess, because my pie is about there. I'm going to guess that is going to be more than enough length. Now I bought this DuPont set with this crimper, and it's just a cheap Amazon thing. This does an okay job, but it's more finicky. My regular iWis 2820s or whatever these are, as long as I'm careful, these seem to work okay. I just have to be more careful than any of the other connectors. Okay, so I need 6 of these. So oh, I want to check this now that I can get a good look at the first layer. I feel like I'm a little high, so let's try that. See if that corrects it. One more. Ooh, let's see. If I have a rubber band around here or something to hold this on here. As I look on the floor for a rubber band. And actually find one. That's terrible. There we go. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. My wife just got home.
hydroplaning every 30 seconds.
I'm back. Okay. So to distinguish these, I'm just grabbing little pieces of colored. I bought a variety pack off Amazon, and they're just, and then this is a remnant from the heat shrink labels I have. It's way too big, but it works okay. Anyway, little variety pack of different colored heat shrink, small diameter. So I just slip those onto those black wires, and at least I can distinguish them. Where are we at? I didn't see a hole in it. It doesn't. It has a piece of tape it came from. So rubber band works well. Honestly, Andy, I would do Trident. You're going to have a more flexible and more a more flexible printer. You're going to have a wider variety of things you can do with it. I'm drawing a blank on the right word, but okay, let's start with the annoying connectors, the DuPonts. And Trident is a very easy build, but I'm not biased. Yeah, that little bit of change on the offset looks pretty good. I might tweak it again when we do the next print, just to dial it in a little closer. So what do you guys think? Any guesses on how long it's going to take to build a switch wire? From a kit, knowing that the wiring harness is pretty much done, where are we at? Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in one. Jaeger. I'm talking a marathon build. If it has to be 8 hours, I'll be there. I'm talking about sit down, start it, finish it. Hi, Scooby. Jeff, that is absolutely true. Depends on how much time is spent chatting, which is, I mean, whatever. I'd rather have it take longer in chat than just sit here and you guys just watch me build. So, if things go well, if it gets here, I want to do a midweek open the box stream. Just to make sure everything's there and there aren't going to be any like show stopping or at least immediately apparent show stopping problems. So it is, tracking says Tuesday, but it's also in LA, and I know there's some shipping problems down there right now, so if it doesn't happen, I'll have something else for next week. But yeah, this will be an LDO kit. And this will be, yeah, it'll be an LDO kit. I'm going to run the heat gun for a second. So I'm going to put you on mute for a moment. Hi, Scooby. What area are you in? Are you in California? Or is it storming? I mean, sure, it's storming in many places. Oh, Richard, how are you? I should have known. I should have known from the username. So what do you think? You ready to build a Voron now? Get rid of that Prusa? Are you still gonna bring that by? Because I can work on it. You just let me know. I'll get it working well for you, and then we'll get you into a Voron. I don't think I'm going to beat the print on this harness, but it won't be too far off. Oh shit, I almost screwed that up. Oops. Well, I guess you can't really tell what I did unless I do that. If I can squeeze these. Yep, perfect. It's a race. Not really seeing a whole lot of ringing in that. Okay. Let's see. Just throw this on here. What is this? Black? Black, red, blue. Ooh. Black, red, blue, green, yellow. And white. Okay. The other side, I pulled a sample so I didn't have to figure it out again. So black here, and then blue there, and white, white, green, yellow, red. Aha! I finished ahead of the print. Now I can catch up on chat. It is getting hard to have modded cars here in California, that's for sure. Jaeger, I had an '08 STI, and then I bought a 15 VRZ, and now I have a 19 STI. The '08 I left basically stock. The VRZ got a bunch of suspension mods, but stock engine, and then the 19 is fun, and it scoots pretty good. Yeah, I'll get that thing going for you. Yeah, I left the unequal length headers on my STI. It sounds really good. I have the Cobb exhaust on it and a lot of other things. I have an E85 station a mile from my house. Let's put it that way. Okay, so sweet. I beat the print. Shit. That's basically the same length as the one I'd already made. I could have just plugged that one in. Oh well. I need one for this printer anyway. Oh, where'd my tweezers go? So we're gonna let the hot end cool down a little bit before we reset it. My adjustment on the, you can kind of tell here, it might be easier. Yeah, you can, I think you can even maybe see a shadow of my hand through that side, but this is when I adjusted it. So I think we're good here. Let's see. And can we actually see any ringing in this print? Yeah, a little bit. Let's see which camera is going to be best. We'll try this one. See if I can get an angle where you can see it, and we're going to keep this around and compare. Let's try. I don't know how this is going to work. Aha. I almost had it. Autofocus on this thing. Sorry. Trying to catch something. You can see them in the right. If you caught it, maybe it'll be easier to see. Hopefully it'll be easier to see when we compare them directly. Okay, you are right. I need to save that offset. Let me just do a save config. We're going to let the hot end cool down for a little longer before we turn it off, so let's see what the... I'm curious what it did here. I don't need some of these older. Look at this. Old config from 12/18/2020. Let's delete some of these old backups. All the way down. We probably have a mesh saved there too. Yeah, it left it at minus 2.8. Or, I mean, at 2.8. Would that be 2.9? I had minus 0.185 on the baby stepping screen. Would that be 2.985 here? I always get, my brain gets twisted on that. Can anybody confirm that? Or does it go the other way? Would that be 2.615? 2.615 or 2.985? Okay, that's what I thought. So I'm going to save and restart that. No matter how many times, I know what you're saying there. No matter how many times I read that, every time I go to do it, I second guess myself. Let me get these out of the way. Where are we at? We are 76 degrees. I want that to get down to about 60, and then I'll turn it off. Oh. What we can do, so let's go, we're already on this screen, so let's go to the Clipper documentation, and we're going to go back, and oops, I went back twice. I'm going to go down to the input shaper, measuring resonances. And then the one part I want to find here, because I've already done the install. I've done all this stuff. I just want to update the firmware on the MCU. So give me a moment while I find that. Set up the Linux MCU. So this RPi microcontroller document. And then we're going to build the microcontroller code, because this is all we should have to do. So make clean, make menu config, And we are going to change the microcontroller to Linux process. And that's it. Yes. This is set micro to Linux process, and save and exit. And then we're going to run all the stuff to build it. So let's do sudo service clipper stop. Make flash. We're at 58 degrees on the hot end, so we're ready to shut her down. And load that. And restart Clipper. Okay. We're going to have an error here. Well, just while it was restarting. We are under 50°C, so the fan turned off. Let's shut it down. Yeah. Let's shut down the... This is... I would like... So this, one of those differences between mainsail and fluid. On mainsail side, I would like a confirmation here. I'd like a yes or no. Are you sure you want to shut down the host? Because I'm terrible at misclicking. And not having an opportunity to cancel that, I'd rather click an extra time before it shuts down. Okay. Power this off. We're going to get into the back and plug in that little pigtail. You know, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to fill a stream with this. I was mildly worried that I wouldn't have enough time to go for 2 or 3 hours. Yep, that hasn't been a problem. Okay, let's switch back because I always want to confirm that I'm doing this stuff right. So let's go back to the main, this page, and I want to just make sure that I'm plugging this into the right pins. So that VCC pin, I think, is the 9th pin down, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So I'm probably going to get in the way here, but you see my Raspberry Pi right here, and that GPIO header is here. So I'm going to take this and plug it into the 9th, starting at the 9th pin. So I've got 5 pins there, and the UART cable. 6, 7, 8. I think that should be it right there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. Oh, and I might be a little close on this pigtail. Yeah, just barely. Yeah. I don't know if I'll redo one of these and put a port right here so I can just plug it in like the other printers. Sounds like that would be a good idea. Just cut a hole or reprint this back panel. It's not that long of a print. We've lost our music again. I don't know why that's stopping. I put it on shuffle and I can't see a darn thing because I'm outside of the range of these readers that I have on. Oh. Okay. Where are we at? Hey Kevin, I think you should run input shaper anytime you make a change. Location of the printer, the surface it's on, belt tension, any changes that would affect weight of anything that moves, or I mean really the printer. So like you wouldn't want to run input shaper and then put the panels on your printer and then print. Okay, I'm gonna hang that there. Plug this in. Let me see what's going on. Shuffle, play. Maybe it's my AirPod might have died and that stopped it. Hold on a second. It's not connecting. Oh, just a moment. There, we should be back at it. Oh, really? I feel like that's something I should know and just know. But I will keep that in mind for next time. Okay, let's plug that in. Let's make sure we can. I'm probably going to have to be careful and kind of hold this out of the way to make sure we don't run into anything with this cable. Go. Plug this, thread this guy in here. Just a longer screw here is all, and then making sure that this is pretty parallel to the plate. Power it on. Z offset, apply, and stop. I'm looking for something here. Well, is this booted up? Let's see. Try again. Thanks, Greg. That's exactly what I was trying to just find. That is good to know. I'm a little embarrassed I didn't already know it. But so be it. We need to make some configuration changes. So this is what, was it Kevin? You wanted to see this stuff. So we went through, and I did this on my Trident stream. Went through the full install of the Input Shaper software and everything. And I ran into some hiccups, and some of you guys on the stream really helped get through that. But if you have some time, if you go back to, I think it was either episode 6 or part 6 or 7, I go step by step through the whole process up to what we're about to do. For this computer, I've already done all of that, so I don't want to redo it unless something doesn't work. Then we'll troubleshoot it. But in the printer config up here, I just put it near the top. All these lines here that I comment out when I'm not using it. So after I hook it up, then I'm going to go in here and uncomment these items. And this defines the MCU and the Raspberry Pi and its port, and then the configuration items for these for the ADXL sensor, and then the resonance testing. So for each printer, I need to adjust this, basically the center point of the bed. I don't know that this is critical that it be exact, and it's really close to it on this printer anyway, but we'll change that. One thing I do change for this, because of the orientation that I have the sensor, I change it to where it automatically does change this order from XYZ to XZY. That way the graphs and the results that it shows, you don't have to think about it. So we're going to save and restart that. I think all she'd have to do is home. Ooh. Oh, I'm glad it goes back, because I think I would have hit. No, I wouldn't have. Never mind. I was thinking here. I want to make sure this is... That should be okay. Okay. Let's go back to the Clipper documentation. And resonance, measuring resonances. And we're going to go down here to the measuring resonances part. So we are going to run this little command. What is it? Accelerometer query. What is this where I was? Did he change this? Oh, this. What was the command? Oh, there it is. Accelerometer query. I was getting confused with this next paragraph because I don't remember having the chip argument on there. Okay, so we're going to copy that, and we're going to go back. And I think we can just run it from... Oh. I'm feeling a little dumb today. Maybe it's almost 3 hours in. We run this over here. And we get a value. Scratch the last minute. And let's forget that ever happened and move on. Go back here. So we got a value. That's what we were expecting. We want values. What did it say here? If you get an error, we wanted something on that query. You wanted under 100, or where was that? The noise. That's it. Measure resonance noise. This is the one that you're looking for. According to the documentation, numbers should be somewhere in the range of 1 to 100. Nothing is outside of that range, so we're good. Now we're going to run our test, our resonance test. And we'll switch back over. Maybe just tweak this a little bit, and we'll just leave the printer in this point from here on. And let's see if the Pi 3A is sufficient to run this. Now the Pi 0 will start all of this. It will get going. But at a certain frequency, it resets the MCU. It crashes out. Put it in the middle of the bed, Sanity. I think me probably leaning on this desk is probably having some effect on the values as well. I don't know to what degree, but... Hey, Message. Welcome to the stream. It's running through the different... Can't really see anything. Probably hear it, maybe. But it's at 87 hertz now, 88, 89. That is absolutely true, Jaguar. Like I said, it'll start it. It just won't finish it. It gets up. I don't remember at what frequency it fails, but it does at a certain point. Hi, Felina. Okay, so it ran that one. Now let's run Y. It's been a good while since I tried this with the Pi Zero. I spent a little bit of time thinking I was just going to do the print method of tuning it, and then I got the idea of redoing things for the Pi 3. Yeah, Message. I figured this would be hopefully a good time zone for a lot of people. Sanity, let's see. Oh, that was making noise. I don't know if you can... It's high enough frequency that you're not going to be able to see the outside of my shaky hands, because I don't know where I'd put this camera otherwise. It did hit a frequency there where it was a little loud there for a second. Yeah, no, there's no way to see that. When it first starts, you can see it. If the switch wire arrives, unfortunately, that's not going to be able to be a EU friendly stream. It'll have to be evening on Pacific time. But hopefully that'll only be like an hour stream. Just a quick unbox, check it out, kind of make sure there aren't any gotchas before I go for the full build next Sunday. I'm jinxing myself. It's probably going to get stuck at the port or something. But if it doesn't get here, I've got other stuff planned. I want to do a Trident wrap-up stream. Yeah, I'm in California. I'm gonna install the LEDs. I'm gonna install the interior lighting. I have a set of the Mandela Roseworks bed mounts I'm gonna try to install, and whatever else we can mess around with on that printer. It is almost 3 p.m. here right now. Oh, I think that finished. Okay. Let's go back over here. That finished. It wrote the CSV files. So let's go back to here, and we're going to get to go over to the command line. I was getting ahead of myself earlier. And we're gonna run these two commands to generate the files. I think I can just run it from right here. It's going to run. Recommended shaper is MZV at 66.2 hertz. I'm going to grab the next one. Y is at 51.8 hertz. So now we can take those two values. I'm going to move over here and go into our printer config. And where did I throw those? I never got it working here, so I may not have thrown that code in here. Okay, I have to throw that section in the config. I don't see it there anyway. So let's go back here, and where is the... Grab this. So Jaeger, that's fixed by changing the order. Here, I'll show you. By changing this order, so now the results I got were already correct for this. So I'm going to throw my values here, and the frequency is, for X was 66.2 with MZV, and Y And I did the minor mental gymnastics on that ages ago on my first printer I did this on, so. Okay, so I think that's all we need to do. And then we're going to do one more because I should have commented out all that stuff because this is done. Now, if you want to see the graph for that, you need these, it outputted in the temp folder a shaper calibrate x and y.png file. You can get to those by running a, here, let me switch over here just in case. When I use WinSCP, and let me add a new site here. And this is off. I know this is off your screen, but I'll bring it up here in a second. Find a spot to put this. Here we go. So if we go to temp, and this is WinSCP, and I entered my address for the printer and username and password, and now these two files are what it just saved. Now this is what I did. These two are what I did from the Trident the other day. So I'm just going to delete these and grab the new ones. Now I'm going to bring those up. Where did I throw those things? Where did I save those? You can see the little graphs. Now, exactly how to read these I haven't learned yet. I don't know if this is a great graph or reasonable or what to infer from it, but this is what you get. And this also shows you, this graph will show you that MZV, so this is X, that MZV 66.2 Hertz that we entered into the configuration file. And the same thing here. It says recommended shaper MZV 51.8 Hertz. So now let's get a print started. And we're going to do that, but first we need to go to printer config, and I'm going to recomment all this. Oops. That's one thing about this as well. The little cursor doesn't show up immediately. Okay, so I think save and restart. Where are we at? And now we're going to shut down the host so I can unplug that. That guy, put the other screw back in. And then unplug it from the back. And then power it back on. Old print here. Let's wait for the screen to come on. Hey Kevin, was that helpful? If you're still here. Let's reconnect. Okay, so I'm going to do all my preheating. I haven't set any preheats for these yet. Presets. And just to make sure, just in case I touch that with my fingers, run over it a little bit. Z-tilt. Sweet. Perfect. Okay. We are going to start the same print. I guess it wasn't fully up to temperature for the bed, but that's okay. First layer may not be perfect, but the ringing will still be the same. Or hopefully lack of ringing. Here, let's do this. Just because it's going to be far more interesting than me. So while we wait for this print, are there any questions anybody has? Anything you want to chat about? We've got a good 20 minutes before we see the results of this. Oh, well, that's a great idea, Sanity. I think a Charlie visit is in order. Give me about 1 minute. I want to refresh my drink, and we'll pull him up here. Let's see how this first layer is going. It's looking good so far, just on the little skirt here. The last time it was very obviously too high. Tony, I had set, because of this being a PLA printer and rods, I had pretty conservative print settings before, like 45 millimeters per second external parameters. I set all of those to 80, thinking it would be enough to really show the ringing. But even on that other print, it's there, but it was hard to get the right angle on it. And I think it's set to 2500 acceleration or something. I need to push it. I will be pushing it after this, because I don't want this 3D sets buggy to take forever either. But we'll see. I might be too conservative on my settings right now. Let me make sure things are looking. Things are looking pretty good. So I'm gonna take the camera angle back. Pull up Charlie. At least Charlie say hi. Charlie, come here. Probably want to do that. What do you think? Get all this stuff out of the way. Am I planning any mods for... Are you talking about the Legacy, Greg? I think if the Legacy prints PLA well, it's staying as it is. It might get a tool head change later, but... There you go. Oh, switch wire. Same thing. Really the same story. It's... If it does what it does well, then I won't change it. So I have switch wire right here. Hi, Charlie. That's switch wire 001. That's currently set up for the Y-splitter Voron setup. I want to play with that some more. I took it apart at one point because I needed the steppers for another project, the pancake steppers. So that might be another bit of content, a weekend stream of putting that back together and seeing if we can tune a dual color print with that. The new switch wire would probably just stay as a direct drive. He was sleeping for like the last 3 hours because he was laying on his pillow when I started streaming, and I just woke him up. Yeah. Well, I'm a little close, it looks like. Yeah, I'm a little close. I don't think there's anything you can hurt in there. He's just an orange tabby. I don't know anything. It's not anything specific. No papers. He's just a cat, just a house cat. CS pin, RPi none. My printer's not liking it. Domestic short hair. There we go. Oh, bye, Charlie. He's gone. See if he works his way back or if he just jumps down. He had a dead end and had to back out. Yeah, Charlie is a tolerant cat. Oh, Sanity, you're right. I keep meaning to send that to RCF. Did I fix this height? It's hard to tell. It's close. He's had a lot of rest, so he wants attention now. Yeah, this guy, I am definitely his person. There is no doubt about it. He is 14 and a half years old. Yeah. Do a little layer adhesion test with the cat fur in there. Oh man, they are sticking to... oh well. I think DFH beats it though, with all that hair. Yeah. He's found the sharp corners of the frame. He's in heaven. I know, Peacemaker. They're sticking. I'm gonna have to clean it. Oh yeah, David, this is just a... And I probably didn't need to do a first layer on this next one, but I just wanted to run the same G-code. If I would have thought about it, I could have just sliced it without the first layer, the same everything else. and saved quite a bit of time, but yeah, I think I might get another one of these webcams and mount it right here before the next stream. I want to be able to talk at something. Those are useful enough and inexpensive enough to do it. I'll probably just get another of this same camera. The C922. I have a laptop right here, and it's a 17, it's an older Asus laptop, 17.3 inch screen, so it's actually usable, and it has a camera on it, but the angle is still wrong. I might as well be talking at this camera, because it's just right there. And I can't really swap where things are. Well, I guess. Charlie's gone. Let's just go back to this view. Yeah, I could point a camera at his bed. You guys can watch him sleep while I work. Did he rent a location now for his business? Probably a good idea. I do not work from home. I have an option to. I could work as many days as I want from home, at least right now. But it's too easy to get distracted with this stuff because my desk is right there. It's far too easy to get distracted by this stuff. So I just go into the office. I work 3.5 miles from where I live, so it's not tough. Yeah, and I know now I didn't set this thing nearly fast enough. Here's what this looks like for the... this other cube for pressure advance. Actually doesn't look bad from what you can tell from a cube like this. Probably a little low. I'm going to let this go about halfway up, and then I'm going to change the speed on it and see if I can speed it up a bit. See what it looks like. Yeah, voice chat in Discord has been crazy. Always someone in there, which is awesome. That's awesome, Peacekeeper. What size did you build? Peacemaker, I'm sorry. I don't know what I said. What made you choose that size? Because I did something similar on my first Voron build. I'm curious what your reasons were. And this is not base sanity. This is just a 2 perimeter hollow box, and I set the external perimeters to 80 millimeters per second as well. So, Peacemaker, that's pretty much the exact reason that I built a similar sized Voron 2, my first Voron. I went with a 320 build because I asked on Discord, and Doc chimed in, and because I asked, would it be beneficial to have a little more space for things like nozzle scrubber and stuff like that, which, by the way, I've never installed. One day I will. But, so I built a 320 for that little bit of extra space around it. But the problem is, when you go with something like that, and you've probably figured it out, is the linear rails are in increments of, at best, 25 millimeters, unless you get something custom or you cut them yourself. So for my build, and since I went with the 320, I had to buy 375 millimeter rails and cut 5 millimeters off of them. And then, of course, all the skirts get modified, and yeah, you're right, Santa. Usually 50, but like Robot Dig, which was one of the main recommended suppliers at the time, did 25 millimeter increments, so I was able to get the 375s. Yeah, when you cut rails, you want to make sure that you cut them clean and then deburr them, because if you ever have to take those carriages off, you don't want to slide the carriages past those burrs on the ends. On mine, since it was only 5 millimeters and I wanted to keep them centered, I ended up grinding them on my little bench grinder very slowly, and with water cooling them frequently. I just ground the 2.5 millimeters off of each end. I just took, these are the Robot Dig. I bought them because they're black, but I just took these off of my V2, which you might have seen in the background. I'm rebuilding some of it, but these were on the X-axis, and these are I ground both end off, so these are now 370 millimeters long. Andrew, I'm running 65C on the bed, and it is a Ender 3 plate, and then an Ulta stick build surface for that plate. I'm going to go on record as not recommending Ulta stick, not necessarily because it doesn't stick well or whatever, but their consistency is crap. I've bought several plates, and the coating is heavier in some spots than others, and their customer service is atrocious. So David, the whole 5 millimeter thing was because when I built a 320 millimeter build, a 375 millimeter rail just physically won't fit. It needs to be cut down. David, I would highly recommend going the 5 millimeters bigger. When I made that decision, I didn't realize all the details that it would be. That was my first Voron. For anybody, I recommend at the very least make your build in a 25 millimeter increment. The skirts are easier to modify. The rails are easier to get. Oh, so about halfway up, I wanted to increase the speed on this and see what we end up with. $200% ish. I got pretty good at modifying the skirts. There's a few areas you can cut them and tricks you can do to keep them looking nice. Yeah, I agree, Sanity. It's got a good aesthetic. Message, what size are you going to need? Because I've done a few, and depending on the printer, I've done a few different sizes for people. So I may have already done it. Sanity, I think you need to go with a fairly larger rod, and maybe an unreasonably larger rod for the rigidity compared to bolting a rail to an extrusion. And I don't know what the comparison of the cartridge weight is between the bearing, these linear bearings, or a MGN cartridge. But definitely a reduction in when I sped it up, it's a little more matte finish. Woohoo! Not that cool, just a little bit. So while this is cooling, this is pretty much all I have planned for the Legacy at this time. I don't know if there's anything that'll come up later, but going forward, I'm going to do some print tuning on this, kind of try to fumble my way through this long Voron, and I'll be starting to print parts for that 3D sets buggy. Any future streams on that subject, I could potentially do something playing around with assembling that buggy. I thought about that. But for the printer itself, I don't have anything planned, so we'll move on to other builds, other projects. But this is something I've been wanting to do, and I figured it'd be a great. Enough stuff for 2 parts, so for 2 streams. Oh, there we go. I was a little close still on that, but let's see. I don't know. Let's see if we can get these lined up. See if there's any angle. Okay, let's see. There is. So there wasn't much to begin with, but my eye, and I don't know if I'm hitting a right angle to be able to see it, but to my eye there is a significant reduction in what was there. Like here, I don't know if I've caught an angle. Maybe I'll catch it in the motion. There's some. This is the earlier one. There's some ringing here that I'm not seeing up here. And maybe this wasn't the best print test for it. I should have just ran the clipper print test. Maybe just the first 20 millimeters of it or something. But yeah. Let me see if I can get any better quality, any better results from the second camera. See that? Back a little bit, and there we are. That's the same corner. There's some pressure advance artifacts, but beyond that you're seeing the ringing on the bottom print. I don't know how to make this thing. There we go. A little, if you catch it just right. Yeah. And really, that in addition to that, looking at it not getting worse as I sped that thing up 200%. There's other artifacts in this, in the surface quality of this, but this isn't tuned either. The pressure advance isn't tuned, which is next. The extrusion multiplier, I don't know that it's perfect. So, what do we have? Yep, the whole tuning process can take a very long time. So, I really just wanted to get rid of, I really wanted to run input shaper for the general reduction in ringing. I didn't want to do that whole big print with the body pieces really, and I didn't want ringing on those. So now that I've got some confidence that that'll at least be minimized, I'm going to get started on that. I think Nero's got dibs on Doc first. One day it'll happen. I'm going to probably call this stream, let's call it 3:45, just to give it any additional questions that might want to come through, any additional chatting you guys want to do. And call it in about 7 minutes. So, maybe while this is going, what can we do? Yeah, I have that little test print lined up for the from the 3D set stuff, but without pressure advance being tuned, I don't know if it's worth running that print. Andrew, I've tried some of the newer versions of Cura, but I just can't. I used Cura very, very early in like 2017, and then I bought Simplify 3D and exclusively used that until it became apparent that they weren't going to update it again, and switched over to Prusa Slicer exclusively. Now I try to use Cura, and it's just like I get lost and frustrated with having to enable different features. And Hector on Discord is streaming. What's he streaming? I got frustrated with Super Slicer when I was printing. Let me grab one. And this is actually one of them. You won't be able to see it on camera, but these 80 tooth printed gears, there's one, I think this is a one for Mobius, but this is the earlier one for the V2, and you might actually be able to see that. You see that faceting? You can see a pattern in the teeth there, and I can see it on the screen. It's not round, and the exact same STL sliced in Prusa Slicer doesn't do that. And ever since this, I don't trust Super Slicer, and I don't know why, and I haven't bothered to investigate, but given the same settings between the two, I just don't. There's something going on with it. And there's been other more recent bugs. You're best off running some older version. I don't want to knock Super Slicer because it's cool what the guy's doing and the features he's adding, but when I'm gonna spend hours and hours waiting for a print, I don't want something like this to. And that can happen with any. I understand that. Prusa could release a version that has, and they have, that has something going on with it. But just for me, this killed it for me. I'll try it again sometime. I don't know when. Yeah, that's the experimental part. And if I get into wanting to experiment, then I'll go back to it. But most of what I do, I want a good part coming out. Especially when I'm testing parts, new parts or whatever. I want to know that, or have some confidence that the part I'm getting isn't being adversely affected by the slicer. Is he building like a kit, or that signal to noise ratio is exactly why I switched to just YouTube. I tried it. I mean, some of you guys are around. I wanted that personal interaction, that voice interaction, be able to chat, but it quickly becomes people not understanding, and it's maybe not the right spot to do it, but people are not understanding that a stream's going on, and I got to the point I didn't want to have to feel like I'm interrupting every time I want to say something. I can just talk here. You guys have no, if you're listening, you have no choice but to hear what I'm saying. But I wanted it to work, but it was just a flawed idea from the start. So that's why I do it on YouTube directly. And that's, I mean, I want to evolve. That camera here, I think, is going to really help me in having something to talk to. Yeah, Sandy, I just use Bruce's slicer. I've tried to experiment with Idea Maker a while back, but I get caught up in some of the a lot of start G-code and stuff. I was getting caught up in. I haven't tried the iPhone thing again. Once it worked fine and then wasn't working when I actually needed it in the middle of the stream, I'm done. I'll find something else. I need something like this. Although I tried putting that up there and the field of view is weird. I would have to figure that out. Yeah, I think the early streams overall was probably bad because I got a couple of comments of just having a hard time hearing what I was saying. People didn't really care what other people were chatting about in the stream. Although, I mean, I just like the ambience. But this is good. I've gotten used to this. I like it. I like being able to read the chat and not missing something too, and be able to concentrate on something and not know that I have to pay attention to what's going on. I can always go back and read back and chat, and I'm good. Okay, folks, with that, I think I'm going to call it. Once again, I appreciate everybody showing up. I will, as I get things printed, I'll try to get some stuff posted in the print channel. With any luck, next week we'll have a marathon switchwire build. If that doesn't happen, then I'll probably play with the Trident again and do a wrap-up stream on a couple of things. So, thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.